actually just won the best marketer on LinkedIn for the APAC region.
The next guest
which is
an entrepreneur that has been disrupting the lead generation industry through the world's
Nathanial
largest
Bibby is an entrepreneur disrupting the way businesses generate leads online.
Joined by marketing consultant Nathanial Bibby of Bibby Consulting Group. Nathanial actually just won the best.
Okay, we don't need to listen to any more of that. How you doing? Welcome to Monday Night Live. Feel like it's been a few weeks since we've been back at our regular scheduled time, 6 p.m. Perth time. So drop in the chat, say hello, everybody that's joining us live. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook as per usual. Drop in the comments, let me know where you're tuning in from. Say hello. I know there's a little bit of a lag, but I want to know you're out there and I want to know you're breathing. So today we are talking about a topic that I think is incredibly important for everyone that's in business. It's about sales. And as we know, sales is the lifeblood of business. Drop in the chat, say hello, guys. There's been a bit of a delay, but I haven't seen any come through yet. I know there are some on LinkedIn because I did see some on LinkedIn, but make sure you do say hello, guys. The whole point of live stream is that we're interactive. You're going to ask questions as you go. One of the things that I want to talk about today is the impact of AI on sales. You'll see a lot of fancy and novel products that are coming out to do with AI and sales, AI agents and things like that. And it's something that I think we need to discuss because you can quite easily launch into that sort of thing and ruin credibility for your brand. You can also quite easily use them to leverage. I mean, the statistics are huge. Like there's over 50% of business professionals in sales and marketing are using AI to get better results in whatever it is, lead generation, content marketing, all that kind of stuff. Hi guys, I'm starting to see some comments come through. Oh, we've got, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Jochem, is that right? From the Netherlands, welcome. Great to have you here. And Storm, one of our regulars. And oh, look who it is. Lacey Saville tuning in from Perth. There you go. Okay, keep those comments rolling in, guys. Make it as interactive as possible. AI is coming for most jobs. Goldman Sachs have said that I think it's in the next 5 to 10 years, 300 million jobs will be replaced. It's probably a very conservative estimate, and most of us are going to end up being in some sort of managerial role managing AI. So it's quite important for us all to understand it and start getting used to how it all works now if we're going to have a career at the end of the day. So at the moment, marketing's in an interesting place. Cold emails are being ignored. Sales calls are going straight to voicemail. Buyers are more skeptical than ever. It's harder than ever to build trust. So if you're selling like it's 2015, then you're in trouble because the world has changed since then. Some experts are saying that AI is similar to when the electricity came in. It's that big, it's that important. So you either embrace it, you learn how to utilize it, and you will be successful, or you ignore it, and unfortunately, you just won't be able to compete. And I don't know how long that's going to take. Some people are saying it's only a year or two away. Some people say a decade away. But I've brought on somebody that I think is one of the best B2B sales coaches, certainly in WA. She's a very authentic speaker. Like she doesn't mind sharing everything she knows. She doesn't hold anything back. And that's Harriet Mello. I think she started Your Sales Co. Must have been 2020 or so, and was in B2B sales a long time before that. And it started joining Monday Night Live every week. She was tuning in often while cooking her dinner, she tells me. And she actually said that she had a goal of being a guest on the show. So tonight we're making that happen, would you believe it, for a second time. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Harriet Mello.
Hello. Happy Monday Night Live.
You're back. Welcome
I'm back. Thanks for having me.
A lot's happened since we last had you on, hasn't it?
It has. I was in a different state then as well.
Yeah, were you? Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was in Darwin then.
That's right, you're in Darwin. And so, and you've grown a team now? How many people you've got working for your sales co?
And we've got 5 now.
5, incredible. And what's that journey been like as an entrepreneur?
If I could just duplicate myself just a few extra times, I think that would be much easier. Because you're teaching people, you're nurturing them, you're bringing them on the journey, you're sharing the vision with them. But no, jokes aside, it's been an amazing journey. I've been extremely fortunate to have some incredible people in the team. I talk about being very lucky, but I think we attract certain people, especially in the industry, because we're providing training, we're providing that learning, we're providing that, I guess, really the incubator for people to come in and develop. And we're creating roles that people actually really want to do, because it's growing, it's scaling, it's having fun, in different realms of the business. So yeah, we've got a solid team. We've just hired somebody else, a new guy who's starting on Monday. So that's all going. We've got a really good structure for onboarding, so it makes my life a little bit easier. But I think probably another 2 or 3 potentially over East, and then we'll start looking at the managerial positions to manage those teams.
Excellent. For those that haven't come across you before, do you mind just giving us the short version of what your sales co does?
I'll give you the short version. So we run sales training enablement for businesses that provide services to other organizations, so B2B. We specialize in tech and cyber. And then the other side of our business is SDR, LDR as a service, which is sales development or lead development as a service. And that's where we develop leads on the behalf of the organization. So we call on the behalf of organizations, and we essentially take leads that have been generated from events, campaigns, downloads, and we warm them up so they're ready for that meeting or opportunity when they're ready, or when we've identified enough of a need. And that's been identified from around 96% of those leads not being followed up. So we've found a gap in the market last year. We've rolled it out. We've got a whole host of vendors and managed service providers, and also some very unique industries looking at it at the moment. So they're the 2 streams we focus on right now.
That's so cool. Awesome. Yeah, I've been talking a lot about follow-up lately, and how 80% of deals are closed after the 5th follow-up, which only 8% of salespeople do, I hear. Hey, Clarence, how are you, mate? Clarence is in Perth as well. Perth is in the house tonight. Angela, thanks for being here. I know it's late over there, so I appreciate you tuning in in your evening time. Yeah, that's really cool. So you would have some sort of criteria as to who you work with, given that you're doing that, you're that entrenched in their business. What are you normally looking for with the companies that you work for?
We're looking for organizations in that realm that have got leads. Now, I know that a lot of people say, we've got leads, but actually what I find really interesting is that when we talk about the volume of leads that they've got, especially when we're looking at the volume of calls we're going to make, they need, for the medium kind of mid-range, we need about 1,000 leads to kick off any campaign. Now, vendors, distributors, they all have over 1,000 leads. That's easy. But when we look at managed service providers or organizations that haven't prioritized, lead generation, or haven't captured lead generation, they're the ones that are struggling, or will actually come to us, and we offer marketing and sales as a service, which is in conjunction with one of our partners. And we will drive LinkedIn ads, we'll do Google ads, we'll buy lists, and we'll nurture them for you. So there's different ways of doing it, but obviously going in cold is very it's a different approach, and really I'd say you're probably not quite ready for the SDR LDR service, but essentially leads is one of them. Appetite to invest, I think it goes without saying, because there's plenty of people out there that want everything for nothing. And what I find in the larger organizations, they're more open to spending, but they also see the return on investment. So, it's a little bit like if I said to you, if you give me $1 million, I'll give you 2 million back. You've got to have the $1 million to give me in the first place. And I find that that level of business have it. And then they've got to be patient with what we're actually developing, because yes, you want meetings, but to drive meetings for you from conversation one. I actually don't recommend that, because I could get you 50 meetings, no problem. But then when you're sat in front of them and they don't want to have a conversation with you, and they've just been forced there, or they've been talked into it by the magic talker with my British accent, they are going to be disappointed, or you're going to be disappointed at the end of it, because you've paid for that meeting. So for us, we want to nurture them. It takes about 6 to 12 weeks to really start having those conversations. But for most clients, we see meetings within those 6 weeks.
Excellent. All right, cool. Well, I've got a bunch of questions about that, but we must move on. We've got everyone here that's tuning in to listen to us talk about the future of sales. Excuse me. My voice getting a bit tired. I've done 2 LinkedIn workshops today with over 400 people. So I'm like, getting a bit,
Wow.
my voice getting a bit tired. All right. So let's start with the hot topic of the moment. AI sales agents. Are they the future or just hype? What do you think? And also, the guys in the audience, let me know what you think in comments as well. Let's have a conversation about it.
I think it's hype right now. I think it will become the future for certain industries and for certain stages of the sales pipeline. And the reason why I say hype now is it's very cool, right? It's cool to be like, hey, imagine if you don't have to ring anyone and we do it. And I've got, there's an organization that does app development, and they're using these bots and they're showing organizations what's possible. And it's cool, right? Don't get me wrong. It's cool, the fact that we can get someone to speak and they can have the first stage of the conversation. Cool. However, your customers, your clients, the people you're engaging with are afraid of this becoming reality. And so right now we think as business owners or as people that are like, oh yeah, we don't have to ring anyone anymore, which is like every salesperson's dream. And that's not the reality right now. And so for me, it's hype right now. It's only going to get better. But I also think that the people we're engaging with that type of communication are going to push back on it as hard as possible. And that's why I don't think it's going to be something that will be your $1 million moneymaker in the next, couple of years. In the next 10 years, I think it would be a different conversation. Yeah.
Hey, there's a lot of guys using AI robots on LinkedIn now. But it's different. Like, they're not, because you can't have an AI profile on LinkedIn. Like, you have to be a real person. So the AI is actually impersonating supposedly a real person. I mean, unless it's a fake profile, which they advertise it as, well. It's an extension of yourself. We train it on how to be you. But at the end of the day, it's not you, and the person you're speaking to thinks that it is. So I don't know. I just feel like that is inauthentic. Like, you're breaking trust. They're just there by, you know what I mean? Because you can have this conversation
by pretending to be somebody else. And I think, LinkedIn, and this is very much your realm, but I find on LinkedIn when people outsource their messaging, as in like their personal messaging to build network, I think is really challenging, because I've been getting messages recently of people that I know that are saying, it's great to be connected. I've been following you for a while. And I'm like, you're full of crap. Like, that's like, I know who you are. And that's just annoyed me, because I met you, 3 weeks ago and we had a really good chat, and that's now dead. And I think the AI bots, the conversation bots that we're building, yes, they're inauthentic, but think about what happened. I don't know how long ago we've been outsourcing to India and call centers in Pakistan and places like that. That was great at the beginning. Like, every business, I mean, Telstra does it, all the local government agencies do it, Qantas does it, all of these large businesses do it because they can, because they're on volume. But there's nothing worse when you speak to somebody that's got broken English and you're trying to get something solved, and it's extremely frustrating, and people are retreating. Like, one of the things we offer is we don't go outside of Australia. So everyone that works for us lives in Australia. Now, if I'm delivering a service in Singapore, they're all going to live in Singapore. If we're delivering a service in the UK, they're all going to live in the UK. I don't want to outsource, because that for me, it increases frustration with people that are there. And I think that's what the bots are going to do when people start to realize, and then we're going to lose trust, but much quicker than it being a human with broken English.
You see, I reckon I'm just like imagining what it's going to be like in 5 years, because there is a case for there to be a Nat Bibby AI, right? Like, I'm still going to be out there, but like, let's say, for example, like I do a Monday Night Live and I'm like, hey guys, by the way, if you want to, get some training on how to use this part of LinkedIn, my AI bot is sticking around for 2 hours after this or whatever. But it needs to be like a genuine profile. You know what I mean? It's almost like your assistant. So people know that it's not really you. Maybe there'll be a social media site for AI bots.
That the humans go and look at to be like, what's going on? Like, what are you guys all talking
our little
about?
AI assistants can talk to each other and come back to us when they find the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
an
great
interesting
idea.
world. It's an interesting world. It's going to be completely different in 10 years. Harriet, you've helped build 1.4 million in sales pipeline in 6 weeks. 1.4 million in 6 week sales pipeline. What's the biggest mistake that you see sales teams making right now?
Not picking up the phone. Simple. Like they're not doing
Crazy.
it. And I think to go one layer down from that is that they're not picking up the phone because they're not confident. They're not sure what to say. They're not sure how to position themselves. And therefore they're not picking up the phone. Whereas if I sit behind an email, I'm quite safe behind here. I can copy paste. I can grab stuff out of here, there and everywhere. But it's not generating action, as you said, at the open of this session, is that it's, people are sick of receiving emails because they're all being written by AI. That it's the lowest form. Now it will get you if you've got something that hits the moment, like nail on the head, I've got you. However, it's not going to move it forward. And I think the number one mistake is people aren't picking up the phone. That's how we generate that pipeline, is based on people picking up the phone.
Yeah. Hey, why do you think it is? Because I've got a lot of clients that we generate leads for. You know what we do. Why do you think it is that people find it so hard to follow a script when they do pick up the phone?
Because it doesn't feel authentic to them. And they're picking, and because if you imagine, if like this conversation, imagine if this was all scripted and it was like, you've given me the questions and I've written my answers. I could still have written them, but then I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm just reading what I've written.
Absolutely. But like the thing about not knowing what to say, right? I mean, really, they should be listening. They should just be asking questions, shouldn't they? I mean, it's about guiding people through the customer journey, because sometimes they just end up like waffling on about nothing, something that's got nothing to do with, the person they're speaking to. And that's when they start selling before they've even found out anything about the prospect. So, I mean, I think you can relieve those nerves just by having a few questions written down. I think questions are the best thing. If you get stuck, don't waffle on, ask another question. I think that's the best approach.
And it's having a strong opener as well, because a lot of, the moment I'm seeing, especially, and it's coming from the US and the UK, which is this permission-based selling, which is like, can I have 60 seconds of your time? And that doesn't work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work, is because most people are polite and they will say yes. And you get to the end of your 60 seconds or just over 60 seconds. And then you say, would you like to find out more? Or, would love to share more about this. And they go, no, we're all good. Thank you. And what's happened is you've gone, this is a sales call. Can I have 60 seconds? And they've said, yeah, go on then. And because they're like, oh, I've got 60 seconds. I'm in the middle of something anyway. You keep talking. At the end of it, do you want that? No, I'm all good. Thanks. Hang up. Whereas when we approach the conversation and we link it back to something that's happened, so think about all the leads you're generating. And you've got them, you've got people that have messaged back and you're having these great conversations. Then when it comes to the people ringing, they're then calling and they're like, hey, Nat, it was great to chat to you over message. Or I know you've been chatting to Sarah over here. I thought I'd just pick up the phone quickly because, and then go into like why you're calling. I know you were interested in this. I know this was something you were looking at. Is that still the, is that still the case? Is it still something you'd like to, explore? Or I thought I'd call you because this has changed and this is why, what it means to you. And all of those pieces allow you to get back together.
Yeah, and that's a great way to follow up as well. You've got the reason for calling, because a lot of people just say, they don't even get through their first sentence. They're like, "I'm just checking in to see," and they're like, "Mate, we haven't made a decision yet. We'll call you back later."
We're good. Yeah, we're good. Oh no, we're good for that. We've already got somebody for that, and that's when you go into loosely around the topic and not getting straight to the point. And I think the other piece is that, you want to get people on the phone, you want to have a conversation, but you want to secure the next conversation. Like the goal is not to close them on the phone. Like the goal is not, and it depends on the industry, but for the people I work with, we don't want them closed on the phone. We haven't got that to offer them on the phone. But what I want to close you on is a meeting. And I can do that because it means I only need you for 2 minutes. I need to show something compelling. I need to link it to something that you care about. And I need to then give you something of what's in it for them, for you to say yes. And once I've done that, I can then worry about what I'm going to say on the big meeting, on the big call, or the 30 minutes I've now got secured as to what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah. And you're talking about cold calling. Is it cold calling? Is that what you're talking about? Mainly,
I mean, you can call it what you want now, but I think I would say warm calling in that scenario, because your leads would be warm. The leads that SDRs and LDRs would call it a warm. If I was calling cold, we'd use the exact same process, but we'd relate it to somebody else that we've seen success with. So we're working with a number of people just like you to achieve this within this industry. And that way we can then link it into like, I know you and I know your people. And then they're like, oh, you know Dave, or oh, you know that company. Oh, I know them. And then that way I've now got your interest. Now we're talking about what we've done or how we did it. And then it's like, would you be open to me sharing more? Would you be open to learning more about this? Or would you be interested in these use cases? I'd be happy to share them with you at a time that suits you, because I'm mindful I've just called you in the middle of the day. Yeah,
that's brilliant. To be honest, like I haven't done that sort of calling people unannounced in years, but I used to love it. We used to do, what was it called? Something on Fridays. I can't believe we had an awesome name for it, but we would spend like 2.5 hours on a Friday afternoon, and we'd have like lollies and Red Bulls, and you had to call people off of Google. And the only rule was you weren't allowed to have spoken to them before. They kind of inquired. They just have to be completely cold. And at the end of 2 hours, there's a winner and they get a bottle of champagne. And it's like it was a big party, and everyone was looking forward to it, to be competitive.
Yeah.
But I haven't done that in years, and I really did enjoy doing that. So the leads I'm calling are like, it's always a booked appointment, but where people drop the ball is a follow-up. Like they don't call to follow up. They might send a text or an email. Those follow-up calls are so important. Because you think about it, like if you have spoken to 4 or 5 providers, right? And okay, whatever, life gets in the way and you spend 4 or 5 weeks making a decision. Are you going to call the person that keeps hounding you? Or like, are you going to choose the person that's like showing up and treating their job as a professional and getting back to you? Or are you going to choose the person that didn't call you back after you met them once?
I'm calling the person that followed me up. And I think I always talk about that as in like, you're taking something off their list. So if you think, and like I always give loads of examples of like a day-to-day stuff, but if I've inquired about, like I think I told this story a few weeks ago, I inquired about tires and I needed 2 front tires. They were bald as anything. And everyone kept saying to me, you need to get new tires. So I rang this company, one of my friends said, he's like, ring this company up north somewhere, ring them. So I rang them. I was like, this is the car, this is the make, this is what I need. I need them as soon as you can get them. Let me know. He's like, oh, I know exactly the tires. He goes, look, give me 20 minutes. I'll call you back. He took my name, my number. I was like, yes. I was like, finally, someone in tires that gets it, that's going to do it. Yeah. I'm so excited. He never called me back. So I don't call him back. I just go onto Google and I search the next tire company. And I keep doing it until somebody gives me what I need. And for me, usually follows up, because I'm a sales geek and I like to see kind of what they're going to do. In the end, I end up getting a puncher. And so I went to a local car garage to where the office is and took it in. And anyway, he fixed it for me. And I come out and he goes, "Oh, that's all good." And I was like, no, I've not paid. He was like, "Nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "You're not charging me for the tire repair that my car's been in for like 2 hours getting done." And he was like, no, it's all good. I was like, "Do you do tires?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, do you do those ones? He comes out, has a look, goes back in. "No, we haven't got them in stock today, but I can get them for you for Tuesday." I was like, "Awesome, done." Didn't check the price. I didn't search around. I booked it in there and then got my tires done on Tuesday. Now, the moral of the story is that if you're going to bother picking up the phone, taking the inquiry, bother to follow up. Because if somebody had called me at any point during that week, don't care who they were, I would have just said yes, because I needed them doing. I've got a busy week. I haven't got time to think about it. So when we're calling up and we're following up on proposals, my number one rule is you should never need to follow up. Now, I love a follow-up Friday, as you know, Nat, but you should never need to actually follow up because we should have already confirmed. So if you're doing, the proposal's gone out, we've delivered that, when would you like to chat again? If you insert that one thing, that will save you hours. I'd love to I'll work out the calculation one day of how many hours, but that one thing of don't get off the phone till you've confirmed your next step is game changer in your week and in your month. And I did it on a coaching call this morning with a client, and she's messaged, the only thing she's messaged me since that call was I went straight from our call to another call and I secured the next meeting. How easy was that? And it means she's no longer, shall I call today? Shall I call tomorrow? Is that going to be annoying? Do I need to take it off their list? All of that comes into play.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to close someone on a meeting than a sale. Like, try to do it all at once. And if they're going through that journey and they're doing those meetings with you, they're going through the process, they're already working with you to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you do that process professionally, you're giving them a good taste of what it's going to be like working with you. Let's have a look at the comments. Yeah, what have we got coming in? I think it's hype too. I know a few vendors, they're emerging fast. Yeah, I mean, I think AI agents at the moment, it sounds like it is. I almost gave one a trial, but then decided not to. But using AI every day, ChatGPT and I have a love-hate relationship. What's your favorite AI tool, Harriet?
Probably ChatGPT.
Yeah. I mean, once you train it, it's pretty good. You know how it works.
Yeah.
What's this guy? It's LinkedIn users anonymous, but I think they do that when it's outside of your network. But we still need to understand sales methodology process. It still needs to be taught in sales. Sales teams need to learn about the conversation. Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, even with ChatGPT, like you have to give it quite a lot of direction. If you don't know what you're doing in the first place, it can be quite challenging.
I get it to do things. Like, I talk a lot about ChatGPT, but I get it to do things with me on refining and like making things more succinct rather than actually like do something for me. Because I find when you say do something for me, regardless of what you've given it, it's still kind of, you're like, I wouldn't say that. Like, that's not what I would think. So I think, especially when you're doing a thought leadership piece, you still need to give it, information. This is an interesting comment.
That's a great tip. Like what Harriet just said about making something more concise. Because when you're writing, especially when you're doing posts on LinkedIn or writing an email, it's hard to make it short and concise. And if you just throw what you've written into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you make this clearer and more concise, you'll end up with a better email and a better post. It's good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think this comment's interesting because, we're talking about that 60 seconds is that, yes, it gets you, because people will say, oh, will it get me through the door? Well, this will get you 60 seconds on the phone. Yeah. But I don't want 60 seconds on the phone. I want 3 minutes and I want a meeting, or something to do next.
Yeah. How important, and I know this would vary from industry to industry, but some of the sales coaches that I follow in the States, they talk about the importance of status and establishing your authority. How important do you think that is, like establishing that you're either on the same status level as the prospect or, more of an authority? Does you think about that much when you're mapping out your sales processes?
No. I think it's very, I'm going to say it's very male. That's a very male view of like, I have to be here and you there, like you're here, therefore I have to meet you here and I've got to be here. And it's like the handshake, and do you do it over the hand or under the hand? And you see all the politicians looking at this. It's definitely an American view, but I would say very male driven. The status piece is interesting because you want to show authority and expertise and knowledge, and that can come through in a really soft and gentle way through stories or through, oh, I had a client just like you and they felt the same way. Like, we can do it really soft and really gentle.
Yeah.
And then we can also do it to meet the, and essentially I think what the other piece to what you've just said there is actually you've just got to meet people where they are and meet the personas and personality types that you're dealing with. Because if I'm like, oh, it'd be great to share a story, and you're like, give me the facts, give me the figures, like, like, let's go, you're not going to buy from me because I'm too soft. And I think the thing of a salesperson is we're chameleons when it comes to meeting people and aligning with people. And I'm still on the fence as to, should you adapt who you are and what you want to say to the people that you want to work with? I think to a point, but I wouldn't change my complete persona so I could sell to you, because I think then that becomes inauthentic. And I don't want to work with everybody. And I want to work with people that that essentially I like and I get on with, and I believe that we can do great things together. And I'm not for everybody. And so I want people to work with me that believe in me, that trust in me, because that's extremely important, but also believe that I'm going to take them where they want to go. And if that's not right, that's fine. I don't need to show you authority. And sometimes I'll back right off if I'm like, this is not for me. And I'll give them some ideas next and then kind of let them, on their way.
Yeah. It's really turned me off a couple of times when I've made inquiries and they do that, like just, make it difficult to book an appointment. Like, I'm really busy and you've got...
Yeah.
Whatever, mate. So, some of the busiest guys I know will make themselves available. Like they'll make themselves available for just for 10 minutes, though, but they'll make themselves available, and all that stuff is just comes across as very inauthentic. I believe that buyers are more skeptical than ever. What do you think, Harriet? And if you agree, what do you think is causing this shift in trust?
I think the shift in trust is that, yes, I would agree. I think they are more skeptical. I think it's AI. I think it's, it's spamming, it's phishing, it's all of the cybersecurity threats that are coming through that, that's my background and I understand all of that. But I think today more people in the world understand cybersecurity than they did 10 years ago, and even than what they did 5 years ago. And I think now what's happening is people are so afraid to open an email, click on a link, give information over the phone, give information via an email, that's become harder regardless of our job being hard enough as it is to get new products and services out there. But they become skeptical because I've worked with someone like you before and it wasn't great. And so I think the fact then that people have tried lots of things as well also plays a part in it. And I think everyone's trying to push things online, and they're trying to make it so that it's cheaper for them to run the service so that they can do one-to-many. And, I see it time and time again. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you've got to look at what do your clients actually want and what do they need. And then you've got to meet them there. And if you want to deliver something one-to-many and turn it into an online course, I've got them, but not everybody wants them. And so I think the skepticism in the market, I think, is down to multiple factors. But I think we've got to look at what do they actually want and need, and how can we deliver that?
Yeah. I'm just going to address this one comment before I ask my next question. Peter said that he recommends to his clients they don't send a proposal when a prospect asks for one. Instead, they say that they'd love to, but it's super important that our proposals meet your exact needs. Can we therefore get together on a call? Yeah, exactly what you're looking for. That's why your prospect will help you write the proposal. Yeah, you don't want to waste time writing a proposal if you don't know what they're looking for, do you? You got that.
No.
Most importantly, how much money you got to spend?
Most importantly.
Well,
I think though with the proposal piece is that my rule of thumb is don't send a proposal unless you believe you're going to win it. And the reason why I have that is exactly to Peter's point, is that if someone wants a proposal, absolutely, let's jump on a call. Now, depending on what you're selling. Now, it's very rare that in that first instance, unless someone's trying to get rid of you, it's very rare in my experience that we'll get asked for a proposal. We might get asked for, do you have an idea of budget, or, you know, what kind of investment are we looking at? And that's fine. I think giving them the less information we have, the broader the range. The more information we have, the shorter the range. And we shouldn't be giving proposals on the first call. I've got a client, and a few months ago when we were working through this exact question, you know, we looked at all the proposals that were out. We looked at all of the demonstrations that has happened. And what was happening was that he was going from qualification or discovery meeting straight into demonstration on that same call, and then they were asking for a proposal. So within about 35 minutes, we've apparently done a discovery, a demonstration, we're ready for a proposal. For me, there's no value there in what you're going to offer if it only takes 30 minutes to build trust, build awareness, understand what they need, and then match their needs. Nothing's going to quite land. And so then we were seeing a drop. So then what we changed was actually no one's getting a proposal until they've had a demo, and no one's getting a demo on meeting one. So now we've automatically got 3 meetings in, and exactly, you know, as Peter said, we need a bit more time. But if we look at the statistics, we need 7 to 15 touch points to convert a cold lead into a paying client. And we need to spend on average about 8 to 11 hours with somebody to help build that trust. So if we're looking at that 8 to 11 hours, now that can be what somebody watching this video, we've got an hour there, Nat. So we only need another 7. But if we think about them reading our emails, being on the phone to us, like that's actually not a lot of time. If they're consuming content and speaking to you at the same time. Yeah.
There's a lot of creators that that I deal with on LinkedIn, and I mean, everyone wants to talk to them because they've got this big influence. So for them, it's like, I've actually got to, I can't speak to everyone, and it's got to be only 10 minutes, and they're very upfront about the price because all of that is done beforehand. Like they're just like, people know that they want to work with you before they've spoken to you because it's all done through the content. So that is such a fortunate position to be in. That's the difference that content makes. If you do it well and build an audience that trusts you already. What's one simple change that a sales team could make today to build more trust, do you think?
More trust. I would say reflect on stories and information that you already have, because trust comes from people knowing and believing that you can do the thing. So if you wanted to, if you're looking at providing a service, if I can build trust around social proof, around what we've done, and be able to turn that into a 1-sentence story, that's going to allow you to be able to build trust in that ecosystem or in that industry. The other thing I would say is around doing some research. Now, this is again where AI comes in beautifully, would be that, I've worked with this client, I'm looking at this client, I've got a meeting around this, and this is what we know. Could you do some research on how else I could connect with this person? Awesome. Where you go, you're able to do that. So I think for me, trust comes from understanding, from being able to relate. And when you can repeat back, and this is one thing that we teach a lot in the training, is that if you give me language, so if you tell me, if you use specific words of like, I want to make more sales, or I want to make more money, or I want to grow my revenue, or I want to scale our team, and I want to grow our conversion, use those words back to them. Don't use what I would say, which might be like, we're going to help you grow pipeline. They didn't say pipeline. They said revenue, they said sales, they said conversions. Do not use the word pipeline, even though that's what we're going to be doing. So trust comes from people that believe that you can help them, but believe that you actually care. And then it's also then about bringing together the resources that you've got to say, hey, I've done this, I get you, I understand you, but let me understand you for you. And let's do that, over a coffee or a meeting at a later date.
Yeah. And from what you were saying earlier as well, I think you probably do it without thinking, but just making your commitments, like you're making these appointments, you call when you say you're going to call. I think that would be doing a lot for you, building trust. Very interesting. I had one that come to mind, but I just went completely out of my mind again. It'll come back to me with a bit of luck. What strategy? I've got a question here. What one strategy that will make the biggest impact on sales teams this year, do you think?
Can I say picking up the phone again? I think I would say picking up the phone, but to give you a different answer, I would say reignite your past leads. Like, please go through your CRM. Stop looking for new leads. You don't need them. Like, I can guarantee that if you went through your CRM, through your inbox, through your LinkedIn DMs, you would fill next week full of meetings.
Yeah. But if you're time poor, what do you suggest doing? Like, would you suggest just saying committing to 2 hours of doing that and doing that manually, or would you set up some sort of system or automation to filter them down?
So I love the filter down. It's a really, really good comment or question there, is that if you've got 1,000 leads, that feels like a lot. I want to know the top 100 or the top 50 or the top 20. And so I would say that if you're looking at, there's ways that we can automate, there's ways that and there's things we have to do manually. Now, depending on the ticket, there's, the size of the deal opportunity for me would depend how much time I'm going to take. So if you're selling something that's maybe $1,000, I would try and do that through my emails. So if you've got an email database, I would look at reigniting or sending something through or driving people through to a webinar or something to download. And then you start seeing who's engaged. So who came to the webinar, who registered, who came. And then now you've got 10 to 20 people or 30 or 40 or 50 people to call. So that makes life a bit easier. And we've done some warming up around that, whether it's just email or whether it's inviting them to join something. Then I would approach that, but I would take them individually and I would be following them up. Now, the clients I work with are dealing with deal sizes anything from 30,000 to 3 million. So in that instance, the $3 million deal, I'm not spamming. I'm not trying to, I'm not kind of just chucking on a list and hoping they'll come back, but I'm going to methodically understand who they are, what they're doing, who they're speaking to, what they care about, where they drink coffee, just in case, oops, I bump into them. All of those things that I'm able to control, that's what I'm doing. And I want to take them and I want to take them through. But how many deals or how many sales do you actually need? I spoke to a prospect the other day and she was like, we need 11 sales. We need 11 sales for 2025. You're not spamming them. You're understanding, you're building a list of 100 and we're working through the list of 100. That's not a big list. I could call 100 people tomorrow and that's not a big list, but to do it when you haven't got the expertise or the experience behind you, I would break them down into smaller chunks. I'd look at industry verticals, I'd look at size, I'd look at use cases, and then I'd build it out from there. If I only had 2 hours a week, I would probably break it up into, let's automate some of the emails that go out and let's spend the time DMing on LinkedIn or picking up the phone and having conversations. The 2 hour chunk, I'm going to just challenge for a moment because nobody does it. They will say, I'm going to do 2 hours tomorrow. And unless you're extremely disciplined, you will get 45 minutes in and then you'll need coffee, because everyone needs coffee. And then you'll get up and make a coffee and then someone will ring you and then you'll chat to them and then you'll quickly scroll because somebody just commented on something on LinkedIn. And then before you know it, you've got your next meeting and away you go. Whereas I prefer to start you off with some wins. So I'm looking at 2 30-minute sessions, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, just do them. Just do 2 30-minute sessions. Then once you've done those, add in a Wednesday session, add in a Friday morning follow-up. And if you do 30 minutes every day, especially if you're busy. Now, if you're a business development manager, ignore everything I've just said. You should be doing it all day, every day. But if you've got other jobs and if you're running a business or if you're running a team or if you've got other priorities, then do 30 minutes a couple of times throughout the week. You'll be more successful during that time than you will if you allocate 2 hours.
Fire. Fantastic. Like, you're making some really, you're really warmed up now, Harriet. We're getting some, we're going to have some good clips up.
Are you ready? You're going to give me some good questions?
Is there anything that you do before a big sales call when it's your first time and maybe a little bit nervous? Is there anything you do to calm those nerves?
I see, I'm not nervous, but I think to answer for the people that get a bit nervous, I would say make sure you've said the words out loud. Now, you don't need to do it in front of a mirror. I know that's the whole thing, like stand in front of the mirror and pitch yourself. Don't do that because we all look weird and our mouths aren't quite symmetrical, and then that's all you want to look at. And I think for me, I would say that in the, speaking out loud, and the reason for that is we said before about a script or, about what you want to say, is that if you're trying something new, you might have just grabbed one of my templates and you're like, I'm going to try this out. You're saying it in your head, but when your brain comes into your mouth and you now got to say the words, it comes out slightly differently, and you'll fall over your words, and it just won't feel in flow, and it would just be a little bit more challenging. So I would therefore say, make sure you've said them out loud. And if you need to do some role play, do it, but do not worry about doing it in front of a whole team. And I had this conversation at a session in Sydney last week. And one of the girls went the day before, I was in the office, and she's like, "You're not going to make us do role play, are you?" And I was like, I wasn't, but now I am. And I didn't, bless her, don't worry, I wasn't that mean. But the reason why role play is great, because it gives scenarios, and I do it with my team and I do it one-on-one with people. When we do it in a room, it can feel extremely nerve-wracking, and it can throw you off because the guy sneezed and someone else is over there and someone's looking at you and you're not used to that, because no one's looking at you when you're on the phone. It's just you and a phone, and someone's on the other line and nobody can see you. So if you're going to do role play, do it in a small group, do it in a room, do it with one or two people, but get something bouncing off. And I think there's definitely value to that. But for me, I would say as long as you say it out loud and you've got some repetition there, you'll, once you've made the first one, breathe, do the next one. It will always go better than you imagine.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, because when I say I've got scripts, it's normally just like a bullet point outline kind of thing for phone calls. But recently, like I've been doing with YouTube, I've started writing the scripts. And you're exactly right, because you write this script, you're like, yep, that makes sense. And then when you go to say it, you're like, I wouldn't say it like that. So reading it out loud is a great piece of advice. It makes perfect sense. Hey, given that you can't see people when you're on the phone, how important do you believe tonality is? Because you hear a lot of sales trainers talk about it. Do you think it's something that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as soon as I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, you might have it, but as soon as you can't see somebody, how you say it is much higher than what you say. And then once we take away me flailing my arms around and smiling and, and reacting to what you've said or what someone else has said, that then comes into comes into play. And I think tone comes into play, whether it's face to face or over the phone. And I use the example of, if I'm following up with somebody, my goal is I want a little laugh out of them. Okay. I don't think I'm a comedian. But I want them their tone to change. So, when I speak to them, they're like, who's this? And I'm like, oh, it's Harriet from your sales co. How are you? Did you manage to escape Cyclone Alfred, or was it just me? And then they go, oh, well, Arthur, you're the fourth person to ask me that, or the boat got smashed against the wall, or whatever it is. We have a conversation. I'm like, oh, so is it raining now then? And they're like, no, it's dry now. Okay, awesome. Well, look, whilst I've got you out of the rain, have a quick chat. This is what we're going in with. I can now get somebody that now feels more elated because they've had me on the phone. And whenever I'm doing call listening, the thing I'm always giving feedback on is just make someone feel better than they did before you got on the phone. So we don't want to be like, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm all right. Not too bad, like awful. You don't want that, because you're going to take somebody down. Whereas the tonality for me is that I need to lift you up. I need to be a slightly higher than you, not too high, because you'd be like, gosh, she's annoying. But we want to be just slightly higher than what the person is that you're speaking to. And you want to give them the energy that's going to get them to be like, who's this? Yeah, I want to chat to this person. These people sound great. They sound like, they're having a great time. Whereas if I'm slouched and I can't really be bothered, it makes a massive difference to the outcome.
Yes, there's a lot you're communicating without the actual words, the way that you deliver it. It makes perfect sense. Okay. we've got loads of comments coming through. Let's bring some of these up. My clients pay me to write proposals. I've tried this before. I did it for a little bit. I got clients to pay me to do the strategy and write a proposal. That's cool. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I think I guess in my opinion, I would say that I don't believe that someone should have to pay for something that I'm pitching to them. However, if somebody doesn't know what they need and I need to deliver them, I got asked the other day after the end of the conversation, we basically identified that they needed a gap analysis on their sales strategy and structure.
Yeah.
So in that instance, I would propose for that, but I would propose for that service. If they wanted it, then we can do it. I just find with the strategy sessions, I think for me, I found I probably just don't need to do them. As much people will pay me to come in and deliver the thing that they need. But some businesses don't know. So I think in that instance, that for me would just become a service as we do sales audits. It might be something else audits. It might be, we'll come out and run a strategy session. But I think be mindful of what you're offering, what they're getting for it. Because I know I did a session, I'm trying to think it was a unique industry, and we basically built out something. It was a design capability, and we said, well, look, you're going to be able to walk away with a design and a plan, whether you use us or not. It was some form of design business. So that in that instance, that's fine if we're charging them to create the scope of something that they can walk away and do something with. But I think be mindful of what's in it for them and where the value is coming from.
Yeah, I'm actually going through this at the moment because I've started working with some larger banks. I've worked with a few of them in the past, but I've been a lot more targeted about it recently. And the proposals that I'm putting forward to them they take me 2 or 3 hours. Like I'm doing a full audit and reviewing everything they've got. I'm not charging for them at the moment because the reason for that is because they're the perfect ideal client. So I know that they're worth a lot to me. It's not like I'm doing them for everyone, but they're definitely valuable. I definitely could charge for them, but it's an interesting conversation. It depends on your business and your industry, but you're absolutely right. Like it's got to be something that they're going to get value from, regardless of whether they use you or not, I think.
And I think if I relate it back to vendors and use the technical, example, is that if you think about it, if I'm selling a license and you're going to pay $1 million, I'm not going to charge you to review my product or service, because if you win it, like I win, I'm bringing it to you, and without that, you're not going to know. So if I then said to you, I'm going to charge you $1,500 to do this, they'd be like, don't worry, we'll look over here. So I think it's really looking at if you can do it and it works and your audience is primed to that, go for it. If they're not, then they might need a proof of concept. They might need a trial. They might need a bit more hand holding. They might need those 3 hours, of assessment to get you there. But that will help you stand out versus someone that does it in 20 minutes, or someone that says, we'll do this for you, but it's going to cost you, $1,500 or $5,000 to do it. Who's going to win the deal? It's probably going to be the person that does it, shows the value, and keeps some of it back so that they can then say, look, this is what else we bring in the session.
Okay, well, we're getting close to wrapping up. I have got a couple more questions here. Let's see what your thoughts are on these ones. What's a hidden gem sales tactic that most people aren't using yet?
Hidden gem. Pick up the phone. Can I say that again? Third time's a charm. I would say pick up the phone. I would say the hidden gem that people aren't using is replicate ideal clients. So if you get a client that you love, that you work with, that's an ideal client, find more of them. And I don't just mean, you've sold to a bank, go and find another bank. I mean, go and find the exact other bank. Go and find the exact other business that's got the same amount of users, got the same job title, that's got potentially the same challenges, and go after them and use the use case. And I think then that filters down for me into reignite. So go after your past leads, your lost leads, and then pick up the phone.
Yeah, fantastic. Geez, so what are the AI use cases that salespeople should be using at the moment, do you think?
So replicate ideal client's a great one. So we have a template that we give away. It's free. And I would say if you put your ideal client, if you fill out that form and then put it into ChatGPT and get it to or other platforms, and then you ask for them to find you other organizations that fit this criteria within a certain location. That's great. There's a tool called Jumbo, which I've been testing, which essentially does that. It's been developed in Australia. So you can basically put in all the information, you build a profile for yourself, you put the information of the organizations you want to work with. It will scrape data off the internet, and then it will give you, we found 500, how many do you want? And they would, choose the top 10. And then you go after them in that way. So things like that are great. Using things like Lucia is great to be able to find, contact details, connects into LinkedIn, which is great. And then I would then say from a reignite perspective, I'd be looking at, using automations more so than AI. So using automations throughout email, once somebody's lost, what's the automation? So we use Pipedrive. I think you use Pipedrive as well. Once it's lost, it goes from lost, you set up an automation that will create an activity for 3 months later. You lost it. Who did they go with? What was the experience? Have they managed to find success? We've seen this in the last 3 months, and I thought I'd give this to you for free. Then when they come around, you've always got every 3 months, you've got something to remind them of. So I think using the automations within your CRM, whether it's Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever, they've all got them. But it's making sure that you actually set them up and use them. And that is a big job. And if it's, if you're a small business and you're running your own CRM, that is a Saturday job. That is not something you've got time to do in the week, or I don't. And so I've got my team that do it, but I've spent many a Saturday and a Sunday, really just working out what are the sequences and the touch points, because once you nail that, everything else gets easier. So make sure that you use the automations that are available to you.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I need to find somebody to help me with my Pipedrive, actually.
I've got a contact for you. It's not me.
Okay, there you go. Excellent. We've all learned so much. I mean, this has been great. I feel like you're on fire. It's a shame we've got to wrap up. You've really warmed up. We're going to get some great clips out of this, Harriet. I'm really glad that you came on tonight. It's a really powerful session. Some really cool conversations there, and lots of activity in the comments. Obviously a very engaging topic. Storm always smiles when she's on the phone. I think Storm's always smiling anyway, aren't you?
I'm sure by the looks of her photo, I'm sure she is. Well, there's that saying, smile before you dial. It makes a difference. You sound different when you're smiling and standing and, elevated. It definitely makes a difference.
It does make a difference. I remind myself of that all the time. I'm by no means perfect at it. All right. So go and connect with Harriet on LinkedIn. She's very active on the platform, and Instagram. And where else should people go to find out more about what you do?
They can check out the podcast, which is Sell Like You, on your streaming services. And then we've got the YouTube channel, which is Your Sales Co, on YouTube as well. So we pump out about 40 pieces of content a week, which is free. Whoa. It's all to help people and to give insights. So go and check some of that out. There's extra resources on the website as well. And if you're not sure, and if you want me to point you in the right direction, drop me a DM and I'll reply to you. Excellent.
All right, guys. Just a quick note. Next week, Monday Night Live, we're talking about building a referral-based business. To make it easier on how to find these episodes, every week now, from now on, the link for Monday Night Live for the week coming up is going to be bibby.consulting/live. So it's always going to be the same. You'll always be able to find Monday Night Live at that link. So make sure you register for next week. Harriet, thanks for being here again for your second appearance on Monday Night Live, and congratulations on everything you've achieved in the interim. You've really grown your business, and it's exciting to see your progress. So well done. Thank you. Thanks for having me again. No worries. Okay, have a good night, everyone. That's a wrap.